Hello, everyone. We're here with Joshua Holden, who's currently doing the Joshua Show, Chapter 2, Episode 2, right? Okay, thank you for being with us. Can you talk a little bit about what the show's about?
The Joshua Show episode 2 is all about the importance of spreading joy and kindness.
Why kindness and why now?
Oh my gosh. Because you haven't noticed, the world is been throwing us some really ugly things in the past few years. I think for a long time, but the past few years I've really been recognizing that. And a year and a half ago, I started writing this show because I started losing faith in myself as an artist and didn't know where my place was in this world in the face of all that we were getting every day on the news. And so I wrote this piece. I wrote the second chapter, the second episode of the Joshua Show for families to come and experience, to have a place for them to talk about what it's like to be in this world that we're living in and how it is, what are the things we can do that spreads joy in this world and why that's important in the face of whatever may be thrown at us on a daily basis.
I really like that you call it a family show because your shows are famous because, usually when people talk about family shows, they think about the kids paying attention, that the parents disconnecting and going to the restroom and checking their phones all the time. But in your show, parents are also an important part. So would you say that it's more difficult? Is it more of a challenge to teach kindness and, these values to children or to grown-ups?
No. Oh, that's a great question. I love the challenge of engaging a wide range of audience members. So while the show is for families, I really do think about, I never lose sight of the fact that there are adults in the audience. And I'm really very particular about the way I speak to children. I think that they are a lot smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. And I always say that if you're bringing your kid to the Joshua Show and your kid gets sick, I want people to say, well, we'll get a babysitter and we're still going because you'll know you'll have a good time.
So this is episode 2. Can people watch episode 1? Is it available anywhere?
It is not available anywhere online, but if you get your local theater to come book episode 1, you can come see that. But no, it's not available online. It's currently just all live performances until we get our own television show one day.
When did you first become interested in puppets?
I think about 10 years ago. Yeah, about 10 years ago I became interested when I was living in Chicago. I had an audition for a new piece being developed by the Chicago Children's Theater and a man named Blair Thomas. And I got swept up in that. I booked this job and all of a sudden was learning how to bring inanimate objects to life, which I never had any interest in before. I wasn't against it, but I didn't even realize that was even a thing that happened in the world.
What was the one thing that blew your mind the most when you learned how to, become a puppeteer?
The thing that blew my mind the most, the thing that blew my mind was certainly watching my mentor Blair bringing these inanimate objects to life, and the moments when I really believed that what I was seeing was real and true, and he was on stage very much like I am in the Joshua Show, in clear, plain sight of the audience. So there's no tricks, there's no question as to how this is being brought to life, but there's a suspension of disbelief and you are in it. You're clicked into this inanimate object, and that blew my mind, and then opened this whole floodgate of how natural that was, taking all that I had known about storytelling and acting and realizing that I could filter that all in another art form, and that's really what we're doing now.
Are there things that are easier to say through the puppets that you wouldn't say, right now, for instance?
Yes. So specifically with episode 2, I have a character named Mr. Nicholas, who is my opposite in a way. He is very pessimistic. He's very truthful, and he really has an ability to express his anxieties about things. In episode 2, he is really distraught. He's really distraught about the things that he's seeing in the news, the things that he's experiencing in the real world, and he wants to escape to another planet. And I think if I were up on stage doing that, with the the same language that I'm using, I think it can be a little uncomfortable for people. But when there's a puppet, there's something it's like having a little puppy. There's a connection that you make with these little characters, and Mr. Nicholas he's just so heartfelt. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's so vulnerable. And so it gives me the opportunity to be vulnerable and to speak in a way that I can touch audience members that feels safe and allows us all to connect with one another.
You just mentioned the word escape, and I'm wondering, where would you escape to if you could?
I
Or where do you escape to when you can?
When I can escape, I like to go upstate. I think that's nice. I oftentimes embarrass myself because I'll go up and we'll see some trees and I'll go, oh my God, this tree is so beautiful. And some friends of mine will say, you need to get out a little more. It's just a tree. So I think, yeah, I like getting upstate. I love going to the ocean. I think finding an opposite of what's happening in New York City, finding some taste of natural surroundings keeps me grounded for sure.
By now you're like a master puppeteer, but for kids who want to get started at some point and think they can't, what's like the most random object in the house that you think kids can make puppets out of? And socks are, I guess socks are a good answer, but something other than socks.
It can be anything. It could be your wallet, and you could just have them talk just like this and say, "Mom, I'm really hungry. Make me some." Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Anything. It could be anything, really. Your wallet, perhaps.
And what's like the strangest object or the strangest material that you've used to make one of your puppets?
These are really good questions. The strangest material I've used to make one of my puppets with, the Wonder Book is a character in the show right now, and she's made out of a French cookbook called The Galloping Gourmet, and she's been with me for 5 years now. Her pages have been replaced here and there, but yeah, that was just someone was throwing this book away, and I thought, don't throw that away. I could make something out of that, and then out came this little character.
Did you ever try any of the recipes in the book before turning it into a puppet?
I didn't, but there are little highlights in the book, and her hair's all curled up, so I say that she has lovely little highlights if you look really closely when you see the show.
So your show's about kindness. What's the kindest thing anyone's done for you this week?
Kindest thing anyone's done for me this week? Good question. My mom called me. My mom called me yesterday to tell me that she loved me.
Moms are the best, right? And speaking about moms and dads also, why is it so important, I think now more than ever, for parents to encourage kids who want to become artists to pursue that path?
Because the arts, I just heard this on The View the other day. The woman who runs Alvin Ailey, she said that the arts save lives, and I think that's true. I think it gives you a place to speak your heart and to speak your mind, and if you're frustrated about something, you can tell a story about it instead of getting so pent up. And in doing so, you may release that from yourself, or you may share something with the world that a lot of other people are feeling the same way about, and you can find a community of people, or you can make yourself feel a little less alone when you have these feelings that feel just so, with this particular episode, I feel so disheartened. I feel so disheartened by what's happening in the world. And it feels lonely sometimes. It feels like I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this. And in doing this show, having people come up to me afterwards and thank me and say, yeah, I totally feel like Mr. Nicholas sometimes. And you're right. It's important to spread joy. And it pumps me up and think, yes, okay, you're right. Yes. Spreading joy is it. We have got to keep doing that. So yeah, it's important to pursue a life of arts.
So when your TV show happens, what's it going to look like?
What is it going to look like? I think it's going to be a beautiful space where we can enter into different worlds and come in and out of perspective. I want it to be really colorful, really full of music and dancing. I have the image in my mind of having a chorus of tap dancing grandmas that dance with me all the time. So very old school, very nostalgic, and very heartfelt. I'm really inspired by the classic TV hosts that I watched as a kid, Huey Herman and Mr. Rogers, Captain Kangaroo. I've seen some of his old stuff, and I think the world could use a little bit of that. I think we are in such an animated world, which is fine, but I think getting back to practical effects, getting back to real handcrafted materials, mixed with a heartfelt message that can inspire kids to get off their devices and get out into the world and be active, wonderful people, I think is really important.
And who would be like your absolute ultimate dream guest on your show?
Huey Herman, for sure. Without a doubt. Paul Rubens, yes. Or Catherine O'Hara. You know Catherine O'Hara? Oh my God, I would give anything for her to be some crazy neighbor of mine to come by and drop off some fruitcake or something and we sing a song about fruitcakes. I don't know.
Would you want her more in like Home Alone mode or like Christopher Guest mockumentary mode?
Christopher Guest mockumentary mode, for sure. Absolutely.
I agree. Joshua, thank you so much. And anything else you want to say to our viewers before saying bye?
Come on down to here and see our show. We have 3 more shows left, and we'd love to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.